Hi, I'm Andrew Spieler.
And I'm Mary Hope Rennie.
And you're watching or listening to Behind the Sign, Real Stories from Real Estate. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 41. We're here today with a special guest. And Mary Hope, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Absolutely. Thank you, Diana, for joining us. This is Diana Mancuso, one of our agents at Keller Williams. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
I would love you to just introduce yourself to us a little bit and kind of go back a little bit in time to when you started in real estate and why you did that.
Okay. So being here is kind of like returning to my roots.
Okay.
I started in broadcasting and film in high school and then college, did a couple internships, and then was recruited by a marketing firm as I was coming out of college and ended up doing some projects for them there, and then 12 years in my MBA while I was there.
Wow.
While I was on maternity leave with my son, my first, we merged with American Express, which on top of traveling all over the country to see my clients, added the 7 to 7 shuttle back and forth to New York. Anyone that's ever done that with a newborn infant at home. And then my husband, Carmen, started to talk about child number 2. And went, no, not working.
That's not
Not working. So there was a convenient time when one of my bigger clients was leaving that I could leave the company and kind of think about what I could do where maybe I was the first or second person that the babysitter called instead of absolute last. Some friends of mine, good friends, had convinced me that my real estate license would let me do my own copywriting, do my own photography, but stay much closer to town. And I jumped in. My daughter, my second one, was still nursing.
Okay.
Even that was a little bit of a throw, but we made it through. And then...
So what year did you get your license?
So that was 1994.
A few years
1994, I got my license. 2011, my daughter, who was nursing, was graduating from high school. And I was thinking, I'm going back to the real world. I was getting my resume together.
Interesting.
Blah, blah, blah. Thinking in September, there I go. And then it was a summer day. Both my kids were at their summer jobs. My husband was at his job. And I was thinking, you know what, why am I waiting? I don't have to wait till September. Nobody's even here in the house with me. And the phone rang.
It's a weird feeling, isn't it?
It was Alan Rice. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, this is a little creepy, Alan, but what am I doing?
I was thinking about
And he was like, well, I want to talk to you about Keller Williams. And I said, but you're in Bedford, And he was like, no, maybe not. Maybe not if you come. So that's when I came over to Keller Williams.
What town were you in?
I was living in Salem, New Hampshire.
Okay.
My office at that time, which office was I in, was in either Salem or Wyndham. We bounced back and forth a lot. We were right there. I wasn't going to make my clients drive all the way.
Isn't that
up to
funny?
Bedford.
Our perception of things.
All the way. And so that's then we started the Londonderry office, and we went from there.
Wow. So that's when you were about to kind of get back into the real world. I love how we don't describe real estate as being in the real world, right? Like
It's all a dream.
Right? You may or may not be working. No, but you really saw, like, if I'm going to do this full time, I have to be in a real job.
Right. I felt like I had been cantering or trotting all this time, and this gave me the opportunity to actually make my business into a business and work with people that wanted me to be not just well-fed, but wealthy. Not just kind of making it.
Okay.
And here's something you can live off of. But these people wanted me to be wealthy, and the first thing they did was bring me to Mega Camp and show me people sharing
ideas
and what had worked for them, with the mindset that I can share this idea because it's not my last idea. I'm going to have a better idea tomorrow, and I'll come back next year and share that one.
Well, and if you share ideas, it doesn't detract from you. I think so
Exactly.
many times we think in this business, well, if I share it with you, you're going to take that and there's going to be less for me.
Maybe you'll do it better than I am.
Yeah.
Or I do. And then if you do that, though, I can take it back from you and do it even better. We can build on each other.
That's
we
how
don't
Apple
have
grew.
to be in competition with each other.
It actually, I really do think that was a novel idea, because when people think of real estate, they do see competition. And I think Keller Williams, that is something very unique that's not the first thing. Nobody wants to say we're in competition. They'll say, yes, we need to win, win or no deal. But are you really willing?
Are you really
to give your secrets away?
Go that extra step and tell somebody else how to do it without getting paid for that telling, without, getting that mentor fee or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So how did that work? So you decided to jump over. How did your career change after that?
It was just a different mindset. I mean, besides having the freedom of kind of nobody, it was a different mindset. And it was really just opening myself up to, I'm going to learn as much as I can and incorporate all of this into it. And then we got to the part we're talking about now, 2020, with COVID hitting. And that was different again. Now that's a whole nother career of how am I going to, because we had bought a house in Florida. We're going down to close on it, and things started shutting down.
So this is in like February,
March 2020.
Yeah.
Got that phone call from the first hotel. We're shutting down.
So you're physically driving.
We're exit 1 in New Hampshire, physically driving. We're shutting down. You and your husband and your dog have no place to stay tonight.
So you kept your home here, though. So you were just going to keep that as like a vacation home?
That was going to be, a month, 6 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Just Carmen had gotten some jobs officiating. He's a football official in Florida in December for a few years. And he decided he really liked being in the warm weather and the cold. So we had started looking. Then, we found... We looked at different places. We looked at a lot of different places, and it wasn't until I got to the Naples, Marco Island area that I said to him, now I feel like I'm on vacation.
I know what you're...
Before I just felt like I was in warmer temperature.
It's a problem when you experience that.
But now I feel like I'm on vacation, and now I feel like this is someplace I would like to be every year. So we had rented a house for a month.
Okay.
While we found where we wanted to be and found a house. And very coincidentally, Keller Williams' agent on Marco Island had gone to high school with Carmen.
Oh, my goodness.
So he was very comfortable working with her. Yeah. I knew her through different events.
Yeah, right.
But we all spoke the same language. We all had, that same little New England accent, whatever. And so it was very comfortable.
That's neat.
To do that. But then as we drove down and things were closing, we were saying, well, why are we going to go back? And then we found out March, April, May is wonderful in Florida. It's really different.
Like, it's time to be homeless down there, right?
But you're probably thinking, wait a second, I now have to start rethinking things, because I was thinking you can get away, your business up here can kind of hold off for a month or two. You can have some help. But now you're seeing, oh, wait, this might be something I want different. And I think, as we were saying a little bit before the show, I think so many times in our lives, we see a path, and then all of a sudden, we see another opportunity. And that's what it sounds like.
And it's bigger. It's a bigger opportunity. And so the bigger part for me was, how do I make this work?
Yeah.
How do I get licensed in Florida? So now I'm licensed in 3 states, New Hampshire, Mass, and Florida. And I'm back and forth.
Yeah.
And do people trust me to say, now I'm going to use a team. Now I have buyer's agents. And, oh, by the way, if you need me, I'm on a plane. Do they trust me enough that I really will jump on that plane and go to them when they absolutely need it? And do they trust me enough or want to work with me enough to wait till I get back in May to list their homes? Yeah. How does that all fit together? I was very lucky in the first couple years. One of the agents here, they were a couple, and their daughter got licensed, and they let me borrow her for a buyer's agent.
That was heaven.
Leveraging
people is really probably the biggest thing that agents really have to learn to be able to bring their business to a different level, which a different level doesn't mean a lot more business. It could look different, and yours looked different, right?
It looked very different from what it had been for 30 years. It's been this way all this time.
But I think this is interesting. This is not just a real estate thing, but I think so many people that are starting to look at retirement age, let's just say, because we're not saying retirement, we're saying retirement age, right? Where the kids are grown.
We're saying people have all kinds of dreams about that. They'll tell you someday I dream, but they don't have the specific plans that they've had every other step of their life. They don't have that. This is how you get into college. Yeah. This is how you get a first job. This is how you get promoted. All of a sudden, they have all this stuff that they've been dreaming about or thinking about, but no one there to really tell them, this is how you do it. If you want to take all this money that you've been using to send your kids to college, and now it's kind of that hole in your budget, what am I going to do with it? And you want to turn it into an investment.
How do you do
What does that look like?
Why do you think there is such lack of knowledge? Because I do think, and this was something when you were saying, there's so many people who don't know what to do at this time of their life.
Because the generations before us did not have generational wealth and did not live that long. I know, my grandfather, his generation, when they got to 65, 67, and all of a sudden they could start getting that Social Security or whatever, they were just happy they got there. They weren't anticipating, I've only lived the first 2/3 of my life. I've got another whole third to go.
That's really interesting. And I haven't thought of it that way, that we are in a different culture now.
Right. We have to start to prepare not only our finances to get us through, but what's going to happen with our kids when they inherit it, and how does it all fit together? Simple questions like, which account do I start taking money out of, can really change the trajectory of how your wealth grows, how it gets sent to the next generation, how you can use it for mortgages. Simple things. Do I put my property in a 1031 exchange? There's another, they call it a tax loophole that we were able to use because my husband was getting paid in stock as much as money. And now there's a way to get that out with paying a little less to the government. How do you just pay a little less to the government?
So how did you start figuring this out? Because it sounds like you kind of you figured it out, and now I think it's an opportunity that you as a realtor can really help others.
So the first thing to do is talk. Talk to everyone, your tax people, your financial advisors, all the people. New Englanders tend to hold their cards very close to their chests.
So
I'm a Midwesterner, so yes, I've not observed that at all.
Wait, where are you from?
Ohio and Michigan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now's the time to talk. It's a very different mindset. I was born in upstate New York in Buffalo, and my relatives there versus the people I've made my family here. It's very
We do
different.
hold things very close.
New Englanders don't talk money.
Yep.
They get very tense about it.
And this is the time you have to do it. Just to find someone to do that NUA with us, we could only find 2 people who had ever done it. And one of them was in New Jersey.
Okay, what's NUA?
So what that is if the company's been paying you with stock as much as money, and now you have to start cashing in that stock.
Yeah.
How do you do it without paying these huge taxes? And if you want to do this, there's very specific rules. You have to leave the company. You have to be over a certain age. You have to do it a certain way. And so you have to find an expert.
You have to find those experts.
The same thing if you have your property in a 1031 exchange. If you've used your property as part of your retirement, how do you get it from one property to another? You need an expert. You can't just Google it.
Yes.
I know our generation likes to Google it. And the next generation likes the artificial intelligence, which is even harder to say you're getting a real solid answer. Yeah. So you have to be very careful and actually talk to people who have done it before. then you have to talk to people that live in the areas you want to go to and find out what they're doing. Are they actually going to the beach? Are they doing a lot of bike riding? We saw one property. It was more than we've ever dreamed of.
Yep.
3-car garage plus the golf cart add-on, outdoor kitchen, everything beautiful. But it was so far from anything except a strip mall. I said to my husband, yeah, we're going to have a house full of company all the time. And all I'm going to do is be the maid. And that's my mantra. I don't want to be the maid.
That's exactly what we were saying. Diana was saying, I don't mind selling real estate. I just don't want to cook and clean anymore. That's retirement. That's my kind of retirement.
Yeah, so it's different. And you have to talk to those things out with your spouse, with your kids. Yeah. If you move here full time, are they going to come visit you? Are they going to be upset that you sold their bedroom?
Their bedroom. I love it. Are they upset that you sold their bedroom? I love that. It's the reality, though. And I'm wondering, as you're saying this, and that's why I was saying, why have we not had this information? But I think every person's journey is so unique that there's so many different options. Whereas we were saying, first-time home buyers, it kind of is the same thing. You have to do certain things, right? There's some
exactly,
and yet
step by step.
At this time of your life, there are so many opportunities, which is wonderful. Almost too many. That you almost freeze.
And you don't know what you're going to enjoy, what you're not going to want to do. I had one couple that moved to Arizona. Beautiful neighborhood. They showed me videos of the house, everything. The next summer, they called me and said, find us someplace that we can use as a summer home because our neighborhood is a ghost town. Everybody just left. And they didn't realize that all of those people were really seasonal people.
Yes.
They might not have been going home for all 3 months, but they were going someplace for most of them.
Yeah.
And they ended up buying a small, it was like a trailer, a seasonal trailer, but it was almost a hotel room. And all the furniture was made to fit in that space, and it all matched. Yeah. They called it a park model. And it was literally like having a hotel room off the lake, you know, beautiful spot for those 3 months. And then they closed it up every year and went back to Arizona to their retirement.
That's fascinating.
But it was something that they never planned on. No. They never thought that they would need to do.
So besides talking to everybody, what other recommendations, if you're in this phase of your life, what are those things that you know you've learned that you really need to pay attention to?
Try it out. Go for a little while. That's the big thing. The finances, talk to your loan originator early. Make sure you're taking things out of the right account at the right time. Because we had money, we were taking a certain amount of money every month, and we said, oh, we're going to buy this property as an investment. We'll just grab a quick mortgage. Well, the mortgage company said, we don't see that distribution as income.
Got it.
But if you stop taking that money and take money from this account over here, that'll be income.
Wow.
But it took 3 months to do that.
Yes.
To switch that over.
So if you were in a rush, then you're stuck.
People think, oh, I have my retirement fund is liquid. Well, no, it's not. Talk to someone in HR and find out exactly how liquid it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, we talked about it before. Are you entertaining? Are you going to the beach? What are you doing? And then what about your parents? Like, my mom's still up here. I will always be back here. Blessedly, we have my brother living with her, so it's not a day-to-day thing. But she's still my mom. And then what happens with her house, with her investments? How do those fit in? Yeah. And our kids surprised us. My daughter walked in to our house in Naples, said, why would you ever leave? Turned her whole life around. She had just bought a condo in Waltham, rented it out to some friends who needed a place to live, convinced her boss that she could work remotely.
Oh, my goodness.
And now has left that job and has a string of food trucks.
I didn't know this. I love this.
That's cool.
And then my son and his wife tried to do something similar, moved down. We kept saying, they're in the restaurant business. We kept saying, there's so many restaurants in Naples. There's so many restaurants in Naples. It's not the same business.
Yeah.
It's a very different clientele, and it's not the same business. They lasted about a year and a half. My son didn't like it. His wife hated the driving, and the dog didn't like it the most. The dog was the decision maker. They're back in Vail, Colorado.
Wow.
Working at upscale restaurant at the base of the mountain, beautiful.
And that's where.
But that's where they're comfortable.
So some of this, I feel like with any of these things, you are going to really have to test it out. And there isn't a one size fits all. I remember when we were looking for an investment property south as well. And we had these visions, and then we realized our timing, because we're at a different place in our lives. I knew that we were like, we're only going to be able to spend 1 to 2 weeks max here. Why are we getting what we want right now? Why don't we get something more of an investment now? Because it doesn't make sense. Whereas if you're really living there, which probably changed things a bit when you decided, oh, wait, we want to stay here a lot longer than we expected. Now, did you downsize here?
No.
Nope, you kept this here.
We kept it here, but we had never upsized here.
Got it.
We were very conservative with what we had here. So it's
It
good.
works.
We both have our own workspace. We have our bedroom together, but I have an office. Carmen has an office. It's nice.
Works.
It works for us. But one of the things, is how do you interact with people, and how do you think about when you're buying a house? Now, when New Englanders buy a house, New Englanders think, what are my grandchildren going to do with this house? Like, it's a 3-generation house at least.
Yeah.
When you buy a house in Florida, the Carolinas, Arizona, you're thinking, are my grandchildren going to have a chance to get here before I'm tired of it and sell it and go someplace
It's a different-
else? People move around. We talk to people in our neighborhood is 1,900 units.
Yeah.
We talk to people and they say, oh, yeah, we first bought on this street, but we liked the people on this street a little better. So when a house came on the market over here, we...
Sounds like my family.
And it's like, that's not a kind of New England-y thing, but it's very much a thing in Florida.
That's interesting. And so that is a whole different market, too. That's another balancing act, right? It's two different real estate markets.
And then what's important to you now, what you were just saying, I had a couple this year. They wanted this neighborhood, and it was 10 miles off the highway, which was 10 miles already from the beach. And to me, that was important. Like,
Yes.
It might take you an hour and a half to get to the beach. And they said, we don't care. We like to bike ride. We like to hike. And, oh, by the way, we found this back road, and it's 10 minutes from the airport. And we're going to be going back and forth because we're babysitting our granddaughter, and we can only come on school vacations when her mother takes over.
Yes.
And so we might come down 6 times a year, but it's only going to be for a week at a time. We need to be close to the airport.
Yeah. Well, and I think coming from a perspective of a real estate agent, and what gift that is that you have brought to your clients, this experience that you had. And I think so many times that is with realtors, we've had that experience. But I think this is really helpful for other agents to hear as well, because we are dealing with that transitional. There's a lot of generational buying, selling right now of, are we staying close to family? Are we, the COVID kind of moved people around. And now I think people are kind of reassessing all of that. What is important? Is it land? Is it space? Is it family? Is it convenience? Like, all of that has kind of, now everybody's looking at it from a perspective of COVID, but a little bit different.
It's changed a little bit. It's changed a little bit. You have to know yourself. You have to know, how far do I need to be from a Dunkin' Donuts?
That is the biggest question.
And I remember driving in one of my earlier years, driving with this man, and we were going out to this house that I knew was the perfect house for him. It was everything he wanted. And we were almost there, and he said, turn around. And I was like, what are you talking about? Turn around. He goes, there's been no Burger King, no McDonald's, nothing for miles. And I was like, okay, so you're telling me this is too far out from civilization because it's too far out from food. Yes.
I love it. But that is so true. And I think so many times us agents get into a rut of this will work, that we sometimes don't slow down and say, well, what works for this person? Or even listening enough to ask the right questions. So what would you say to an agent working with someone who is in this transitional time of their life?
So be patient, ask a lot of questions, almost to the point of being annoying with what do you want to do? What do you do? What are your hobbies? That kind of thing. But also be prepared for a lot of false starts. Because just because you're thinking you're going to retire next year doesn't mean they give you some big project to keep you there another 18 months or so. And people do. They call me all the time and say, I'm ready. I can't stand the cold anymore. And then I don't hear from them for, 6 months. And I'll, reach out every once in a while.
Yeah.
But they'll say, oh, yeah, this happened to my mom. This happened to my kids. This happened at work. There's a lot of false starts here.
But I think it's also the greatest opportunity. Because that's where the wealth is, to be honest. That's where people who have money that are probably buying cash, if there's going to be cash buyers, because they've already paid off their home. And this is, especially with interest rates and things, I think there's so much opportunity here. But if we try to treat this group of people just like a first-time home buyer.
No. Yeah. It's a unique group, and they need to be treated with patience, with respect, and understanding that it may not take the first time, but keep in touch, keep them coming back to you, and help them through. Be able to tell them who can do a trash out for them, who can they donate their stuff to, who's going to come in and paint the house in 2 days as opposed to 2 weeks, that type of thing.
So having your people have resources,
having your team ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. So you're selling in Florida and New Hampshire. Where do you see the next few years going? Because you told me you're not retiring. Where do you see it going?
No, and I see building in both those spots. I really need to firm up my team, my buyer's agents in both locations, because that's kind of a moving target. Anybody who has a team knows that you think you got all your ducks in a row, and then, as soon as one falls out, a couple more. So it's firming up that team, and just it's taken 4 years for people to feel comfortable with that. I really am going to come back in May, and and then knowing that if it doesn't work out in May, it'll work out in June, July, August, whenever, that it'll all work out. But I'm established enough in my career, mature enough in my career, where I used to joke when I was first in it, I was like, it's grocery money, but it's not this week's grocery money. At least now I can say, you know what, we're not worried so much about the groceries.
Well,
Let's
because
take
you've
our
done
time,
those,
and we've done those things.
Yeah. Well, do you have any last questions, Andrew? I know
I was actually going to spin our normal last question, and then you asked it to what would you say to an agent who's dealing with somebody at this point? Because typically the last question is a new agent coming in or somebody who's thinking about revitalizing. But I think an agent who's in this situation with a client or moving into working more with these types of clients, I mean, that's what I think is so valuable from this discussion, so.
Well, and I think that is an opportunity for any agent, right? You had the experience, which is a great gift that you're able to give your clients. But if all of agents could see this as an opportunity to really learn and lean into people who are in this transition and understand, and learn from people like you that it does look different, and that doesn't mean they're not interested, and it's not bad, but that you're just going to have to be a bit more patient and have a lot more resources available, just different resources. Different resources. Yeah. So.
Well, great. Well, I'm ready to retire after this. Sold me. I'm ready.
I'm ready for you. I've got all the whole list of helpful things.
When do you head back south?
We have December 8th.
December 8th. So a little bit longer. So you're usually going December to May.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yep. We do the big Thanksgiving. We have the whole family over for Thanksgiving. And last year we started a chili cook-off. And the kids asked this year if we could have the chili cook-off in conjunction with Thanksgiving so that they only had to come up one time. So
love it.
We will have a big chili cook-off.
And that's where different traditions change. Mm-hmm. And that is part of this change too, right? And that's an adjustment for everybody, not just the person moving or transitioning, retiring, but also for the kids and their kids and all of that. So
so we'll get through Thanksgiving and then we go.
That's wonderful. Well, and that's beautiful to see that this can happen, right? Yeah. And that you have created something like this.
And it can work, and you can mold it into what you want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I
like it. Sounds good to me.
Well, thank you, Diana, so much. I so appreciate your perspective on this, because I think there's so many agents that haven't had that perspective, and we've been on such a fast trajectory of a market that we haven't been able to slow down. And these are the opportunities in this shifting market that I think if agents do slow down, pay attention to their clientele, we can really build a different type of business that's actually skill-based, that can last really long, and learning from people who have experienced it is a great asset. So thank you so much, and I'm so glad to have gotten you back on stage.
Back to the broadcast, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
awesome. Well, and thanks everybody for watching and listening out there. Make sure you like, share, and follow us on YouTube and on Spotify, and we'll see you next week.
See you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Behind the Sign, Real Stories from Real Estate.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and gained a little insight into the world behind those for sale signs.
Today's episode was brought to you by Keller Williams Realty Metropolitan, proudly serving New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts. A special thank you to our agents, leadership, and partners at KW Metro for their continued support.
And thanks to you, our amazing listeners and viewers. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Leave us a review or comment. We love hearing your feedback, and it helps more people discover the show.
And if you have a real estate story you'd like to share, or a question you want answered on a future episode, reach out to us at metro.kw.com or find us on Instagram, handle @KWMetroNH.
Until next time, we'll see you
behind the sign.